Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cybergamer Steelseries Challenge Best of 5 Finals. It is 2-0 in the favor of Team Infused versus TCM Gaming. I am Spuddington, we're replacing Pulse and Metas, and we are going to be, I'm going to be joined, we are going to be joined today by @RapidCasting.
Sweet! I hadn't thought about putting the @ in front of my name, but you know what? I can live with it.
I was just on Twitter. I was confused.
All right, well, yeah, I was definitely typing @Spuddington right there. But before I tweet that, and you guys should definitely go over and follow us @Spuddington and @RapidCasting. But we're going to get into what could possibly be the last game of this Cybergamer Steelseries final. TCM, I mean, going into this, I would have definitely expected the games to be close, and after about 2.5 hours of casting, I think you can safely say that they have been fairly even.
Fulfilling games that have gone on for many hours with many amounts of creep deaths, because there's just been so much farm on both of the games. I think they both went on for, well, the first game, what was that, a 40-minute game, something like that?
If I recall correctly, yeah, the first minute was about a 40-minute. The first game was about a 40-minute game. The second game stretched on for an eternity. I don't actually care, because at some point I was just like, wait a second, this game is still going. And then I was okay, well, let me go finish the other things I have to do before I get ready to cast. Came back and it's still going. Like, there should have been 2 more games in between there, but unfortunately that is not the case. But fortunately for us, we're into, like I said, what could be the last game of the series. Infused up 2-0 versus TCM, and already into picks and bans.
Yeah, we've got some kind of hovering over Draven. Actually hovered over Quinn for a little while, but I think that was just trolling me, although we did actually see that in the LCS the other day. I think it was White Knight, wasn't it, running that Quinn. But Draven has been locked in, which I don't think we've seen in the last game, and also which doesn't really fit the themes that TCM has been going for with their team comps over the last few games. They've definitely been running late game kind of high strength carries, maybe sacrificing a little bit on the early game. This time though, all out aggression, Draven locked in. Opposing that though is going to be the Zek and the Kennen.
Alright, so when you go for a Kennen, you have to kind of watch out for a few things. One of them is Lee Sin. The other is going to be something like Janna or Jace, and you'll see bans on both Lee Sin and Jace. Just because as soon as Kennen tries to go in, you need something to push him back out. That's why they just go immediately for the Janna.
Yeah, they haven't locked it in as of yet. Janna would be a very smart pick at this point though. I mean, you've just got to say, if you're going up against that much AoE already, if you don't take that Janna, you're opening yourself up to just falling into that situation, especially actually if you have a no escape AD carry. You're just falling into that potential situation where you just get locked down and you're unable to do anything. But interestingly enough, Neritador there picked out Vlad and locked it in instantly, so looking interesting there. What do you think they're aiming for with the Vlad?
Okay, well, there was a while during the late parts of Season 2 where Vladimir, you didn't really see him. He had phased out of popularity in North America, and then he just hit this super resurgence over in Korea, and that was when they were going for A, fast pushing strategies, and B, some crazy turret dives. Now, you can kind of do the same thing with Elise. You can just go up into your repel for a couple of seconds of invulnerability. It also drops turret aggro and doesn't cost you 10% of your HP. So I think the big deal with Vlad is that he's really good at pushing, and he also, has that ability to drop turret aggro, so it's really easy to go dive him, and he's pretty safe, has a lot of sustain. You just don't see him too much anymore because he's really, really weak early on, and nowadays if teams see you play Vladimir, they're just going to 2v1 him, crush him out super early on, and then he'll never get to be that lane presence that you're really looking for. So it'll be interesting to see if Infused are going to go back and try to take care of that way, or if they're just going to maybe let things lane normally and sort of throw their cards at it and see how it works out. But as is, going with the Jarvan, I like that idea because that's going to keep people where you want them and prevent them from being pushed out, and just gives you the hard engage that you need versus all the disengage that Janna has.
Yeah, it does seem at the moment that Infused are going for that kind of classic. You get the early game Caitlyn damage out there, you get the early game pushing from Caitlyn, transitions, her mid game is kind of covered for by the Kennen picks, by the Jarvan pick, by the Zac, the AoE wombo combo, and then late game, if it goes that long, you have that Caitlyn who gets to be a really, really strong carry thanks to that range, and that makes it a really, really beefy front line for her as well, because you have to... The AoE kind of damage does tend to fall off a little bit, but it does still lock people down really, really hard and makes Caitlyn's life a heck of a lot safer. But TCM are looking like they've got an incredibly high damage combo themselves right now. Actually getting the Shen pick up there, so could be a jungle Shen here.
You know, I was told that you only ever really see a jungle Shen if you want to put him up in the top lane and then you bait out a counter pick to Shen and then put him in the jungle to keep him safe and then pick your top laner. That he was picked last, so that does kind of give you the option to have that happen, because with both Jarvan and Zac picked, one of those is going to be top lane, one of them is going to be jungle. And I think the great thing about Jarvan is that when you jump on a Vladimir, it doesn't matter if he pools, he's still going to be stuck in your ultimate. So if you go for a Shen there, you can actually switch things around. I mean, in North America, you actually have quite a few jungle Karthuses. You don't actually see that in too many professional played teams though, so probably will be a Shen in the jungle like you mentioned. Very slow wave clear, but does have the opportunity to kind of instantly gank by you know, just teleporting to the lane. The only problem is that we'll have to see how that works against much more traditional jungle picks in you know, both Zac and Jarvan.
I do certainly like the Karthus pick in general though, because right now Infused don't have an awful lot of disengage, and we have just had somebody dropping out of the lobby, so I didn't notice any placeholder picks. Maybe there were. Could be just waiting to get somebody back in this game, and then we'll see what happens with that. But like I say, I like the Karthus pick because they don't have a lot of disengage, and if you go in with that Kennen, if you go in with that Zac, if you go in with the wombo combo, then you're gonna have a lot of issues, just because, well, Karthus is gonna be quite happy to be in the middle of your team. Even if you've killed him, he's still gonna be completely okay with that, because he will continue to do damage. Unlike every other character in the game, he has that particular talent for making your life a misery. But it does look like Matroco disconnected, and I'm not really sure how long we are going to be waiting for that. I might just ask that, actually.
Well, almost every character in the game. As Zac, if you have a Sunfire Cape, well then, as we all recently found out, the Sunfire Cape is actually on every single one of his blobs. So if you're standing in the middle of 4 blobs, it's actually to do 4 times the amount of Sunfire Cape damage to you. And it's actually pretty devastating to deal with if you're at low health. So, you know, there is some differences between there, but Karth is definitely the champion you think of when you think of posthumous damage. So I think that's going for the Karthus pick. I like that. It's a very safe mid, especially with some of the diversity that you saw out of Infused lineup. That's something that kind of caught TCM off guard in the first game, just not knowing exactly where to put, where your opponents were going to put where they were the champions they chose. So going into this game, you see the same sort of ambiguity from, I almost said a Nexus, but it's a new Infused lineup. You kind of don't know where they're going to put their champions. Now, the last pick was not me. If that was the placeholder, then at least, you know, it's only going to be a support placeholder, but I actually think that that would be the support pickup, so I don't actually think that we're going to have anything replaced for now. All we're going to do is get back through the picks and bans.
Yeah, I think it was probably just a straight up disconnect, and now, of course, we are getting some troll bans. We're getting the Alistair, the Heimerdinger, the Skarner, well-known high-tier picks at the moment, but not going to be played in this game, fortunately, for everybody involved. Well, actually, fortunately for Twitch chat, on the second count on the left-hand side, but I do agree, it doesn't look like we're going to get different. It doesn't look like we're going to get different champions being picked out here. I think both of their lineups are very, very solid. I'm not really sure who's going to have the advantage here, but TCM, I feel they need to make sure in this game that they don't let the game slip away from them. And actually, wait, Narutador has picked out Xin Zhao. He didn't have that the first time, did he?
Not that I recall. I think we were looking at a jungle Shen. Oh, that's what it might have been, a replacement for the Shen as the last pick, using that as a placeholder. I don't know, man. That seems kind of fishy, but I guess they've, talked things over amongst themselves, so everybody's down with it. So instead of that jungle Shen that we were talking about a little bit earlier, we have the jungle Jin Zhao. I was talking to David Prox about it, and he basically just said that the cooldown increase on Audacious Charge is a little bit rough to deal with, so he actually runs cooldown blues in his Xin Zhao page to make up for that. But all in all, that it doesn't really feel like it's a very standard or viable jungle pick when you can have other champions that do kind of the same thing that he used to. But regardless of that, still a strong jungler, or at least second tier, and that's going to be the choice here for TCM going into what could be their last game.
Well, it does give them the added benefit of an extra disengage. He does have that ultimate which will knock back guys like Zac. So it does give them that double disengage comp, and it gives them a lot of potential to punish people that try and engage on them as well. They've got basically a disengage, re-engage sort of synergy going on here. They can knock people back, they can waste their ultimates, and then they can go in with that Karthus, with that Vlad, with that Draven, and that Xin. They've got a lot of potential damage themselves, but we will see how well it works. All these things do require execution to make them work, but we've got a 2 minutes 45 delay timer, and while that goes on, we will be showing you some adverts, so hold on to your seats. This should be a good one.
Sometimes I can hear you calling, telling me that I'm a fool. And when I see you in the morning, will you still want to be true? I can dream, I can dream that we'll see a brighter day. And I'm alive, more alive than I've ever been your way. And I'm alive, more alive than I've ever been your way.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back into the game, but I will actually hold that thought for just a second. Flag comes in, spots out Naruterador, maybe. I'm not going to try and pronounce Spanish words. But anyway, Rapid, how are you doing?
I'm actually doing really, really well. Excited to be here for what could be the last game of the Cybergamer Steelseries League of Legends tournament. I gotta say, going through those first couple games, we got kind of the easy job. We're coming in after almost
30 seconds until
2.5 hours have already gone by, and well, going into this game, you gotta be thinking, if you're TCM, you have just fought your heart out for 2 extremely long games, extremely close, and you lost both of them. Coming into game 3, you know you have to win this to pull things back, but do they have the energy, the stamina to pull it back and go through another 3 games to take out Infused? It's going to be an uphill battle, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a really, really tough ask. But it's worth noting that the same can kind of work the other way too. Overconfidence can be bred by success, so I wouldn't count them out yet. It will be Vlad moving into the top lane at the moment, but it does look like Celiva will be around for that top as well. That could be a 2v1 swap up. Vlad going to have a difficult time. You mentioned Rapid, he has a very weak early game. He's got a lot of sustain, but he is going to need help, I think, from Xin if he wants to get anywhere in this lane.
Yeah, definitely, and Naruterador, there we go. Has a lot of experience with that. Essentially, that's what's happened for a lot of the at least last season's TCM performance, especially when they first tried to qualify for LCS in the spring split qualifiers. It was really, really interesting to see how they work together, and Naruterador, he's been around for a long time. I think he was on Existence, or was it Mouse Sports? Yeah, he was last on Mouse Sports, and so he definitely knows what he's doing. And on Xin Zhao, he's already going to be picking up his double buffs a little bit ahead of, actually no, Jarvan's a little bit ahead of him. That means that this gank coming into the bottom lane is less of a gank, but more just helping out Zaz's hold the lane, except that if you'll notice, it's actually Matroko and Phelox kind of holding the lane out. They're not pushing super hard. They're trying to just deny him as much CS as they can.
Yeah, and they will be getting some help from Jarvan soon, so it's going to be very much a case of just 2v1 laning, essentially. Jarvan not daring to get aggressive. You might normally, if you had an aggressive kind of laner who was good at setting up ganks like Zac, you might normally look to try and actually make something happen in the 2-1-2 situation, because you've got a lot more burst with Jarvan and Zac. But against Draven, engaging this early on, especially with the Janna disengage, especially with the Janna buffed shield, that's going to be a very risky proposition. He just got a ton of damage in this early game.
Alright, well, when you look at top lane, it's ranged melee versus double ranged. Celiba's taking some turret shots, but I gotta say, for Infused, they're looking to push this out. Whereas bottom lane, you're definitely looking for more of a just kind of hold the line kind of thing. Oh, the flash! Celiba going dangerously low.
Wow, that was super, super scary, but now they're trying to kind of hold him in. We've actually got the teleport coming in from Kennen. He's trying to put the stun down, and Naruterador is in turn going to be going down to overpower. Good teleport, but Celiva is now low. JWoww is now level 3. They might actually be able, if Limits of Reversal isn't able to get enough health from Celiva, he might actually be able to hold on to his tower a little bit longer than that bottom would otherwise. It does seem, though, that they've got a head start already. Could be difficult. Karthus has pushed in the mid, but not going to be able to do much damage to the tower. Have the deeps at this stage when it comes to knocking down towers.
Yeah, that was absolutely crazy. The perfect teleport coming out there from Ken. I was like, wait a second, how on earth did Overpower get up there? And you realize, hey, teleport's a pretty cool summoner spell to have, especially so early on. I gotta say, probably if JWoww had maybe followed up a little bit, that would have wound up going a little bit better for TCM, but he was so far back, and Xin Zhao actually was way overextended. He really didn't have that option, so TCM go down one, but Naruterador back up into the top lane. Holy cow, the damage, picks up 1 kill, going in for Celiva.
Yeah, the pool is down. That's getting the slow proc. We've got the trap down, but that's not going to save anyone here. And like I said early on, with help, Vlad can do very, very well in these 2v1 lanes. Worth noting, though, this is one of the reasons you can still pick Xin Zhao viably. Even though he's not very popular in the jungle at the moment, his early damage is second to none. Even Jarvan the Fourth, who is known for being a very high damage early on kind of bruiser, transitions more into being a tank later on. But we're actually in bottom lane. Matroco could be getting engaged upon. He has, in fact, had the flag and drag, but the shield and the spinning axes will equalize the trade. Like I was saying, Xin Zhao early damage super, super high.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys listen to a lot of music, then you know that the first cut is the deepest, but it's actually the third one for Xin Zhao, picking that up on both of those, you know, I guess odd-numbered strikes. So he's going to be able to come back for round 2, wind up picking up 2 kills. That's going to put the gold lead almost 1,000 gold in favor of TCM in the bottom lane. Matroka's going to go down.
Yeah, he got taken out. There was baited into using his stand aside too early. Jarvan went in with the flag and drag, got the knock up, and then you had the follow up. But we've actually got Requiem being used. Cesar goes down, and that is going to be also a nice little bit of harass all across the map. Carter says, thank you very much, take that to the bank. Gotta say though, Janna staying in at the moment, possibly going to be trying to freeze the lane. Actually, that will be very, very helpful for TCM. So yeah, I can understand why she's still there. I was just thinking that, ooh, I'm not sure I'd risk trying to stop him recoiling, but succeeds and will probably get away with it too.
Now, this is kind of interesting from Karthus. You know, he's 1-0 after getting that kill from Requiem. He's going straight for the Catalyst Protector first into Rod of Ages, not going for a Tear of the Goddess. It's kind of an interesting choice, but he picked up the Ruby Crystal second, so he's like, well, I could complete my tier, or I could just not die a lot. And that, you know, as much as Karthus has loved to die, it's nice to avoid it every once in a while. JWoww not actually having that much trouble in that top lane. He's able to wave clear, and that's actually another thing, another reason that I didn't point out earlier. Vladimir actually does really well in 2v1s. He's able to wave clear, keep the wave pushed off of his turret, and CS really well underneath the turret. So, gotta say, nice choice but there by TCM. You actually noticed it worked out pretty well with those ganks coming top by Neroterador. So, gonna try to keep things off for now, but it does look like both duo lanes are gonna be pushing pretty hard.
Yeah, it's going to be Caitlyn, so it's always going to be pushing hard and hard and hard. It's also worth noting, for future reference though, the lad is a very good 2v1 laner, but if he gets off the ground, his early game is weak, and if you snowball it against him, he tends to suffer really badly. Plus, that Catalyst, or at least the Ruby Crystal on Karthus, basically that is because it's a very scary lane to have to deal with. Belgian Beast, though, will be walking into trouble here.
Alright, well, when you look at top lane, it's hurt down to about 700 HP. Bottom lane, I gotta say, pretty impressed by the presence that Infused have had down there. No matter who it is, it's always going to be somebody, and they are going to be keeping the turret pretty healthy, up around 2,000 HP. We saw an attempted steal there on that blue buff by Overpow. Didn't quite make it, and that will wind up going over to, I believe, Jarvan finally took it out. So, yeah, nice job there, taking that one away. Immediately, they go over to their own, and they're going to find Neroterador.
Yeah, what's he going to do here? He's in a very awkward spot. He gets stunned out, but Phyllox is there. They've got the shields, and it does look like they are going to be able to get that blue. However, Caesar is now on Belgian Beast, and he has not yet regenerated the mana. If he goes down, he will have the infinite mana, but he has got the flash, has got the Cataclysm on his head. No way he's going to live through this. Will be throwing out some lay waste. Will he bother to use that? In fact, he's still on cooldown, because that is a massive cooldown. He will go down, and that's not ideal. However, he's potentially opening up a push on the bottom lane. Matroco is there solo. He should be able to take out that tower fairly quickly. He may not choose to do so, though. He may choose to eat a lot of CS with the tower itself. JWoww in the top, taking a bit of harass, and Kennen, Jarvan, moving in towards that mid tower.
Yeah, but keep in mind it's 1v1 in that top lane, and JWoww definitely has that advantage, the level advantage from being 1v2, and I guess I'd say damage advantage, because Silver's gonna have to click on him, and there comes out the Requiem. It's gonna be targeted. Ivan K goes down for a second time in a row. Man, that guy hates Requiem.
That was so nicely coordinated, though. It was clear Jarvan just had not considered the possibility that he would be getting hit with the damage just enough from Xin. Just perfectly enough from Xin to put him in Requiem range. And this means that TCM is actually taking a pretty significant early advantage. They've got 2,000 gold to their name, and actually, I was just noticing that the Infused, not a Nexus, their blue buff is still counter jungled, and I think they're aware of that fact, but they just haven't bothered to fix that problem yet. I guess they don't really need it, though.
Yeah, A, they haven't fixed it yet. B, look at the CS differential, and you're wondering where all this gold is coming from. They have 62 CS and a kill and assist on JWoww. If you look at their solo laners, you have 30 on Zac, and then just 28 on Jarvan. So even though he's been holding the lane a lot, he hasn't really picked up that much of that. And JWoww is just almost free farming in 2v1. So I'm like, this is not working out too well for Infused. They're letting Vladimir essentially 2v1 effectively, and that just means that Zach is being continually set further and further behind. And keep in mind, Zazas, he needs to get tanky, he needs items if he's going to be diving in and not just going down immediately. And because he's stuck in lane, that means that TCM going to go for Drake.
Yeah, what Vlad did there was, at that last part, he actually sort of face tanked the wave, and it gave him just enough time in order to allow his team to go for that dragon there. You see Phylix there having a ward fight. Overpower looking aggressive, actually, considering he knows how little support he has and how many members of TCM were in the area, but he's not going to be getting punished for that. Vlad moving into this top lane now. He will start the farm train now, I suspect. But
And
yeah,
that actually could be kind of bad for, I almost said an Nexus again, it's for Infused, because if they shut that lane out super hard, if they were going back there to farm, that would be really bad because they'd have to really overextend for it. But as they're rotating, you'll actually notice that Limited Reversal is going to hang out in the mid lane with Overpower to just harass his Belgian Beast out there. Still hasn't found his Rod of Ages yet, but now we're going to see a 2v2, and this is where we really find out kind of the state of the game. We've had a turret for both teams, which duo, which solo lane wound up being the strongest.
Yeah, Celebrate going to be pushing down this creep wave, but Belgian Beast will be very, very solid for stalling that out. Vlad is continuing to push in this top, and I imagine in a straight-up fight with Zach, he's going to be able to out-sustain him and out-duel him in the long term. It will take a long time, though, and that will give Infused an opportunity to start getting aggressive here. We do see Xin maybe looking for that Audacious Charge, doesn't get it, doesn't go for it, Bubble misses. Late waste goes down, and Draven is farming out this bot lane all this time. So there's actually double pushing coming in from TCM, and it actually looks like Overpower heading towards that top lane. Does have that teleport though, so he could choose to come back down again if necessary. We want to go for this. Overpower is here though. We may have JWoww overcommitting. He has popped that ghost. Overpower is going to be there. He will have to wait for that cooldown to come back up. He is now kind of juking around though. He's going to be using that ghost, and Xin is coming in. He will have that ability to disengage if Overpower goes aggressive. However, he has got the mark on him, so he will not be getting that. JWoww is going low. We've got the Requiem coming down. No one drops from it though. Hemoplague not enough damage. That is not an ideal result there. TCM.
There's a little bit of a mistiming between the Requiem and the Hemoplague. The increased damage might have been enough if you'd seen some focus on Overpower, as is Naruterador staying up in that top lane. Will the Portuguese name be strong enough to take out Zazas, whose etymology I'm not quite sure on? But if you look towards the middle, you got Phalox and Belgian Beast taking down the middle turret to about half HP. In the bottom lane, it's pretty much just one-on-one, both of the 80 carries, and you gotta know Matroko is feeling pretty good about that lineup, because I don't really think Caitlyn 1v1 against the Draven goes too well for the Caitlyn player.
Yeah, if stand aside lands, you're going to take a ton of punishment. However, it does mean that she, either as long as stand aside gets baited out or dodged or something like that, it will mean that Matroko won't be able to actually get in range to throw any axes. And there's also that kind of aspect of Draven's aggression being very predictable. That can lead to problems if you have a support in the area, such as Nami, who can bubble where the axe is going to land or where Draven is going to run to throw one. However, it's going to be just sort of resuming the farm game now. We do have Vlad once more in that top lane. Carpus in that mid lane, continuing to farm. Who do you feel, though, Rapid is going to have the advantage if this farm continues?
To be honest, JWoww is so far ahead. He's 40 CS up on Zazas, and Zazas is just desperately trying to get any CS that he can underneath there. He does have 2 kills though, so that gave him the Spirit Visage, and that's basically the only thing keeping him in this game so far. He would not be able to lane against the JWoww right now if he hadn't picked that up, and that's just because, like I said, of those 2 kills. If you look at the duo lanes, they're pretty even across the board, even in CS and in basic score. The only difference is the itemization. Caitlyn's going to go for an Infinity Edge, which means that right now she is incredibly weaker than Draven, who's already completed his Bloodthirster and is getting that stacked up. But as soon as she finishes that Infinity Edge, she's actually going to have a bigger presence in these teamfights just because of her range, because of the damage, and then the critical strike chances are just going to be absolutely massive. Pretty much the difference we want to focus on is that top lane, because if you look everywhere else, it's actually going to go in favor of TCM, but you got Zazas going in on JWoww.
Yep, dude got Jarvan following it up, and this should be a dead Vlad. He is going to be using that pull, has got the Hemo Plague down, might look to try and pop the passive, but Overpower is right there. Zaxxas ain't going down from that one.
Yeah, you flash out and you're like, oh, wait, suddenly Kennen. So probably don't want to do that. But that's one of the things that's been really good for Infused. And keep in mind, this is the Infused roster, not a Nexus if you're just now joining us. For Infused, they back each other up. You'll notice the top lane teleport that turned things around for the first blood was off of a perfect teleport from Overpow. And that time again, he's just roaming exactly where he needs to be. And, well, he's able to, oh my goodness, Celeber in the bottom lane. May not exactly be where he needs to be. There's going to be a nice barrier blocking out the damage, though. So no death there on Matroko.
That was actually dicey as heck for Caitlyn. That was a 2-on-1 situation there. Draven nearly took down Caitlyn. He flashed out of the bubble from Nami, and that was so close there. Celeber did manage to get himself out of dodge and did nearly try and turn it around. Don't know if Draven actually needed to pop the barrier in the end, but he did. It was just a little bit of a safety thing. Both summoners used from the Matroko, though. Caitlyn going to be retaining hers, so overall, not really worth it from his perspective to get quite that aggressive.
All right, so we've actually seen the pushing power, the punishment, I guess, on Zaxxas kind of mitigated just because of the support from the rest of Infused. Right now, it's all about the Dragon, though, and you'll see pretty decent ward coverage there. Pinks in both the small bush and on the Dragon for Infused. That means that, well, TCM, they're not really going to go pushing that. Overpow's going to try to clear out this middle wave while the rest of his team takes down the Dragon, and that will be the Dragon going down to Infused. Puts them still down about 1,500 gold.
Yep, but Vlad will take this top tower very shortly. We could see Overpower look to teleport for it, or may in fact teleport down for Draven. Draven continuing this kind of split pushing style. He's a very strong duelist and is taking advantage of that fact. However, there was a lot of pressure in the mid lane from TCM, and they actually kept Overpower from reacting. He couldn't afford to go top because the push in the mid would have probably taken that tower. So that was very nicely played by TCM. They've taken a tower, lost a dragon. It's going to be roughly even on gold. A little bit of map pressure, but their towers won't respawn, so you can't keep reusing those for your extra little bit of global gold. And still continuing on, though, TCM playing this very sort of pushing heavy style. And I feel like their advantage over time at the moment is kind of being eroded.
Well, you know what? They have a couple of things that are really going their way. They kind of do the CLG strat where they let their AD carry do the split pushing, and that's why you'll basically see Matroko off by himself. And if you watch the last game, you know Matroko is their hard carry. He carries something ridiculously. So right now, they're just trying to let him get the CS that he needs to put those carry pants on and let him, well, I guess, dress the rest of the team. The only downside is that after grabbing away that dragon, that's actually something that was pretty huge, not only for the gold for Infused, but because it gave them the map coverage they needed. Those two pink wards around Dragon have kept them safe and will completely in the know for exactly where TCM are. And right now, all they have to do is stall out that mid push, and you notice that TCM, unable to take that middle turret, have split up back to their side lanes and are going to continue the split push that we were talking about earlier, unable to get through anything in the mid lane. They're up a turret, but they still can't crack that middle lane.
Yeah, so neither side actually thus far has really been able to take much advantage in the mid lane. A little bit lower health on the red one. JWoww there just poking around, did put down a ward at the red, and you can tell he's intending to continue this split push because there is a lot of vision coverage in that top. He's just going to continue pushing around Zac. And now he's going to be harder to find. Naruto, that bot lane, Tidal Wave comes out as a counter here. Matroko has got that shield on him. Doesn't look at the moment like they're trying to just force this split pushing fight, but you do have to constantly be aware Overpower has that teleport. There are pink wards behind. For now, though, it does actually look like Jarvan's going in. Stand aside, not being used correctly there. Did not get the knockback, but it doesn't matter. Ivan K in a lot of trouble. He's very low. The bleed is ticking. Will go down. We've got Requiem as well. Overpower in from behind in the teleport. Matroko in a lot of trouble. He's going to go down, and like a fly with a very large metal swat on his head. That is going to be a very dead man. We've got the Monsoon not quite going out the way you would intend from Phylox. The double disengage there. Going to nearly put the distance between them, but TCM does lose 2, does lose 3 in fact. However, Karthus in the mid lane pushing, so is Vlad in the top.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the caveat to the split push strategy. If you do actually wind up getting crushed in one of your lanes, as long as the other two lanes are pushing, you actually kind of win out in the long run. A Belgian Beast doing a pretty sizable amount of damage here to this middle turret. Won't be able to most likely take it down. But you also have JWoww in the top lane. Look at his CS. He's now almost 60 CS above Zazus, and he's just going to keep pushing that home. There's nothing that Zazus can do. He was crushed so hard early on from that, well, the way the early game went. JWoww actually could go in for a kill here, but he's got the rest of his team backing him up.
We've got overpowered there, and in fact, JWoww now in a very, very awkward spot. Zaxus not going to go down. JWoww actually is alive. The red buff does tick him down, though. He will get taken out. Zaxus wasn't going to go down completely regardless of what happened there. And you got to say, actually, that was kind of a fail of map awareness there for JWoww. He probably should have known that there was going to be more guys coming in.
Yeah, he had a ward, but he actually put it in the wrong bush. He put it in that red bush, and that didn't allow him to see people coming in from base. So they just kind of walked up the lane, and a nice initiation there from Zazus. He was just tanky enough to allow the rest of his team to back him up exactly how he needed to. So once again, TCM, they had just got countered out a little bit in their last split push, and they're right back at it again. Got Mojroko down there in the bottom lane. You can see he's actually only up about 10 CS, so not really fulfilling that sort of, our AD carry is going to be doing our split pushing so he gets more fed kind of idea. Though Dragon will be respawning here in about a minute or so, so keep an eye out for that. You also have to watch out for the split push in the top lane. You'll notice that JWoww not going back there, says, all right, I've got a pretty decent advantage. He already has that Spirit of the Spectral Wraith and double penetration and Haunting Guise and Sorcerer's Shoes. So you're looking to see him be a really big factor here in these upcoming team fights, as he is probably, he's sitting up there at a pretty farmed, at least over his lane counterpart.
Celevar is in trouble, though, at the blue buff. He is going to be getting Narrator on his face, but does put the net between them. Belgian Beast going to be getting bubbled, and now we have the tidal wave coming across. Zac in the middle. We've got the Defile down, but Mojroko is in a lot of trouble. Zaxus will be jumping on him, but he's been exhausted. The damage may not be there. TCM Mojroko going to be trying to duel that out, but meanwhile we've got Overpower in the middle. Karthus has gone down, and Zaxus goes down. We've got the Requiem over his head. He's going to go down. Ivan K in a lot of trouble if anyone actually realizes he's in the brush. Next level tactics, hide in the brush. Everyone forgets you're there. Flag and drag out, but that was a fight in the favor of TCM hard.
Oh my goodness, yeah, Belgian Beast, I feel like Infused wasted way too much on him. They killed him, and as you and I were talking about before the game, he kind of still does damage once he's already dead. So TCM, a brilliant idea with their split pushing strategy. They picked the perfect moment to stop it. You'll notice that last time around, they were kind of split up, and they wound up just getting individually picked off in every single one of their lanes. This time around, they stopped split pushing. They said, look, we've already gotten a pretty sizable advantage from those split pushes. Let's go ahead and group up. It was time for Dragon, and after picking up that push, they're going to go for the Dragon. This just may not be the right choice, as the rest of Infused are starting to come in here. The Dragon is theirs, but how many people are going to go down? Is this actually worth it?
Well, we've got the Monsoon from Phylox trying to put the distance between them. Nariterador in yeah, this is not where you want to be. Bullet to the head. That's supposed to be a sniper shot, Caitlyn, from about 2 feet away. However, it's going to be the Dragon, so roughly equal on goal. However, this will, in turn, mean that not a Nexus, Infused, are actually going to be moving towards the Baron area here. They could go for this.
They definitely could. I don't actually think that TCM would actually know that they're doing it. There's zero ward coverage around there. And if TCM don't pick up on this, Buddington, this is going to be a free Baron. No wards in the area. You can tell finally Belgian Beast knows something's up. And right now he's like, Overpower's guarding me from here. He's just going to go in and die on it.
Yeah, but he's going to get locked down before he can get really in range. Hemoplague is down. Celevar taking a bit of damage from that. And we've got Karthus now trying to put down enough damage. The ultimate, the whirling death takes out like a train. But Overpower now going in. Triple kill on Mojroko. Quadra kill on Mojroko. He doesn't dare continue on with the battle, or does he?
Oh my goodness. Ooh. Nami, please. Nami? Oh no, she's not going to walk over a ward. I thought she was going to walk over a ward over the back of Baron. And if she had... Phylox could actually ward over the back there and stop Limits of Reversal. Still not going to be a pentakill, but oh my goodness, Mojroko coming in exactly the right time. So the rest of TCM turning that completely on its head. It's just one throw after another. It's like TCM, they go for the Dragon, or they take the turret, they beat out Infused, then Infused comes back and stomps them at Dragon, then TCM comes back and stops Infused at Baron, and I think finally at long last TCM will come out ahead of that, as they do pick up Baron Nashor's buff, the Crest of Crushing Wrath, on 4 out of 5 members of their team.
I think what you mean is all planned. Also, isn't Crested Crushing Wrath thing on Twisted Tree Line? Or Old Twisted Tree Line, even.
I guess this is just Exalted with Barrett Nasher. I think I'm pretty sure that was the name of the buff. I'll have to double check that on LOL.
I think it was Old Twisted Tree Line because it had the dragon which gave you the Crested Crushing Wrath.
All right, well, this is notably
guess.
not Twisted Tree Line, so I'll just go ahead and call it Baron Nashor's. It just says Exalted with Baron Nashor, so I guess that's the name of the buff. So we'll go ahead and go with the flavor text on this one. JWoww's back to split pushing in the bottom lane. TCM, man, you can tell they're really, really good at this. So they're not sort of deviating too far from their ways. But when you look at what the items are just now being completed, it's starting to get a little stacked. The Abyssal Scepter just now completed for JWoww. You can see there are two Bloodthirsters on the team, and they're both on Draven Matroko, getting those stacked up. One of them's fully stacked, the other he just now purchased. So this is a little bit of a Genja status. It's like, how many Bloodthirsters can I have? The answer is always one more.
You win this time, Lore of Legends. But anyway, we've got Matroko actually in the mid lane. Going to be getting engaged upon. Overpower does get blocked out by his own Cataclysm now, though. So Narraterador has been locked down. Silver gets chunked like he is a marshmallow there. And we've got the flash in. JWoww putting down the damage. Overpower is going to get blown up. And that is a Baron buffed team. 5-man. They're pushing down on the inhib rapid. Could they even finish it? Zaxxas is in the middle. He's going to be in so... What the balls?
I guess he was like, all right, the game's over anyway. But the young Matroko, though, guys, going in. How many Bloodthirsts does he need to win the game? The answer is 2. Whether or not that is the same number of licks it takes to get to the center.
Did you just lag out, or was that me?
No, I did not. I took my hand off my push to talk button. I'm smart. Don't even question me. I'm excited, and I was gesturing with my hands. My gestures just so happened to include 2 hands instead of 1, and that was just an illustration of how excited I am. We're going to a game number 4, so unless you have some final words, we're going to take a break, because, I don't know, I'm sure these TCM players are about ready to pass out by now.
Let's just go to the break. Yep, you and your push to talk here.